Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to the Content Amplified podcast. We're in for a treat today. We have Trista. Trista, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ben. I'm very happy to be here.
Appreciate you taking the time. Trista has some awesome experience, and we're going to dive into that. But first, Trista, tell us about yourself, who you are, what do you love about marketing, where are your passions, and all that kind of stuff.
That's great questions. So my name is Trista Sobek. Right now, I'm a content marketing manager at a facilities management company. But I like to say I'm a storyteller at heart. I majored in creative writing because I was told I was good at writing, and I knew I didn't want to do anything with math. So I went straight to creative writing as a major. And fast forward over the years, kind of figured out a way to take those skills into marketing, which is really interesting. So I'm kind of old enough to see, dating myself here, but that I have seen the boom of SEO come into the forefront, and I've been able to see firsthand what that really does after I've said, no, I'm not going to write like a robot. And having someone show me, what happens when you insert a word or two on a web page, and how that organic growth really gets more people to selfishly read your pieces of work, but also um, get more eyes on your company's website. So saw all that firsthand. So now I have fallen in love with content marketing. And what I'm really in love with is telling the stories that surround a company that I'm working for or a person that I'm working for, and telling those stories, and in with the end result of getting more brand affinity, getting people to trust a brand a little bit more, but also making sure we're being authentic. I think a lot of brands are out there being inauthentic, and that's not the way to do it. I know we were talking earlier about PPC and buying ad space and things of that nature. And what really gets me excited is the authenticity of organic marketing with, especially in social media or telling those stories online.
I love it. Yeah. And thank you for being on the show. And storytelling is such a big passion of mine as well. So I'm excited for this discussion. To dive into it, here's kind of the subject for today. And I'm excited for us to dive in how brand advocacy and storytelling can amplify your engagement. So, Trista, what are some of your initial thoughts here on the subject?
Some of my initial thoughts around it, is if you are working at a company, regardless of whether you're in marketing or not, I think you I don't want to say like your company or where you work is your whole life, because it can't. We need work-life balance. But like it or not, we live in this digital world where we're all communicating through social media. Everybody is on, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a vast majority of people are on Facebook. Whether they say they're not on Facebook because they don't want to be known as somebody who is on Facebook, but they'll be on it to connect with their family members,
Yeah.
or past high school friends. LinkedIn, just about everybody is on there these days, and that's a really hot place to be, because we're all looking for, what's going to be our next job, or what happens if we, in this economy, God forbid something happens. You want to stay connected.
Yeah.
So when you are a person and you are working and you are on social media, like it or not, you are an advocate of your company. And if you're going to be there, if you're going to be working in a job and you're going to be on social media, you might as well be a positive advocate. And what you can do to help your company is share stories that your company will, a lot of times they'll have a marketing department that is coming up with these stories. You can just reshare, or you can tell your own story. We have salespeople where I work who are constantly telling stories about what they are doing in their community. So we have some salespeople in there's a gal in Florida, and she's very she does a lot of things with real estate. So, I mean, realtors always have all kinds of networking events, and she's always out there at an event and she's talking using our company's name. And every time she posts it, I repost it. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, you know what you're doing, right? You're getting our name out there, regardless. You're not just saying, like, look, I went to this little networking event. You're like, because somebody else is going to share it and then we're going to get picked up. So she got it. So I used some of her examples and showed other folks, like, look, people are talking about this company that we're working at right now because of this one person. So I think some people are just like, I'm not, they want to shrink from it. They want to be a shrinking violet, and they want to say, I don't want people to know where I work. And to that, I kind of say, too late. you,
Yep. Yep.
you live in 2023 and it's a digital world and you work somewhere. So you might as well make it a good experience. And we all have these little stories regardless of who we're working with or interfacing with. We all have positive stories that can help reinforce a brand bond.
Yeah. I love it.
And I think it's just really important to do that, because that's how ultimately someone will make a decision to
Ah,
purchase,
100%.
especially considered purchase.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The emotional connection, the storytelling is vital for the buyer's journey. So let's say you're in a business, and before we were talking, you did kind of a lunch and learn for the business to kind of teach more about this. How do you encourage people to tell stories internally? We talked about, you're as a part of a store or a company, you're going to tell stories. How do you kind of coach people through the process of like getting excited about telling these stories and actually like having experiences to tell those stories and why it's important? How do you kind of help the rest of your company do that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We have platforms where we say, okay, company A, you're going to have, person Jane Doe over there, you're going to tell 5 stories and share them. And every time you share a story, you're going to get a point. And at the end of the quarter, whoever gets the most points will get an incentive. So we've, built these platforms to incentivize and monetize the whole influencer situation. Personally, that makes me cry a little bit inside, that we have to pay people to tell stories on and just share what our marketing departments are already sharing. But if you look at it from maybe somebody who works in finance or somebody who works outside of marketing, that's not their main job, or
Yeah.
even sales, right? So one of the ways in which we can do this is by incentivizing, and saying, gamifying it and saying, okay, whoever is going to be the influencer of the quarter, you get a $500 gift card,
Yeah.
and give them second, third. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, what happens if you run this for a little bit, people will just be excited to share and
Yeah.
will share without being incentivized. The incentive is just, seeing your company's name out there,
Yep.
being, lauded. So I think it's one of those things. It's like, bring the horse to water, let them enjoy the water, and then hopefully you don't have to keep them there.
Yeah.
They're going to stay there. So I think it also comes down to a lot of conversation, just talking over and over about this, reassuring people that it's okay to post on social as an advocate of where you work. Nothing bad is going to happen. If even if you go to another job, like, this becomes your brand. So then it gets into conversations about how to build your own personal brand,
Yeah.
which then now we're digging deep a little bit more into a person and not just a worker, right? We're like, you need to be aware of all this stuff that is happening because you need a personal brand,
Yeah. I love that.
especially if you're going to have to move on at some point or want to move on or move up. Um, even to stay where you are, it's not a bad thing to have a personal brand.
Oh,
You need to
yeah.
know who you are.
Well, and if you are looking like as a potential employer, if I have two candidates that otherwise are identical, but on one social profile, like on LinkedIn, it's just radio silence, not a word about their company. And the other one posts very occasionally these really cool customer stories about where they worked and the cool and the good that it did. I'd be much more likely to hire the person that I knew got excited about the company and the offering and could tell the customer story. That would mean a lot more to me than anything else, on
Right.
that comparison side of things.
Right. I think emotion and showing excitement about life and work being a part of that is really a big part of why we should go to work.
Yep.
Otherwise, yes, most of us, the vast majority of us, have to work for money, but you may as well make it an experience where you're connecting with other people
Yep.
and being excited to be there, because no matter what you do, if you bring that energy into a place, whether it's a space, a cubicle or an office of where you work or online, that positivity is going to just do nothing but good things
Yep.
for the world.
I agree. One other point you brought out about kind of generating those stories that I think is really important from my experience. If you're in a position in the company and you don't have any customer stories to tell, it probably means you don't interact with the customer nearly enough. And there are specific roles where it may be way less frequent, but I don't care if you're in finance or some other department or HR, understanding and having customers that you feel comfortable talking to and asking them things like, hey, is your billing experience seamless and straightforward? Do you have any headaches about it? Things like that. Can you really understand what's going on here? And I think that regardless of the size of the business, you need to be close enough to the customer that if you're not being able to tell a new story once a quarter about something you heard from a customer, you're probably too far removed and you should probably figure out how to get some more of those on your calendar as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think customer experience is really becoming such a buzzword recently, because people who have money to spend on things are going to pick and choose where they want to spend it. And
Oh, yeah.
those companies are the ones who are giving their customers a true experience. I don't want, like, Amazon. I mean, that's the pinnacle, right? I mean, you just go on there and um, see what you have to buy, read some reviews, and which are stories,
Yeah.
mini stories in themselves, and sometimes you'll just choose the best story and click it, buy, done, right? And that's an enjoyable experience. So if you can't have an experience like that, you know something's going to go wrong at some point. And instead of falling off a cliff, if you have those good bonds with your customers, you can save a lot
Oh, yeah.
of time and energy.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and businesses use these words like product market fit to indicate how much a customer likes their product and can use it. And there are other businesses where they don't focus on that as much, and the product market fit companies always win. And on the marketing side, there's such a thing as content market fit, and you only find it by interacting with the customer and making sure the content resonates. And I think, again, to the finance or HR examples, there's probably a billing market fit, like the way that you interact with the customer on your side, does it fit with that market, or customer success and otherwise? Like there's always an opportunity. And then when you do have those experiences, you share them, right? You get the emotional, it's not just the acquisition side, but it's just contagious internally. If you're sharing these stories of like, look at all the good that we're doing, you're like, okay, I can get through another hard day, when you have those, which will inevitably come, because I'm helping people and it's actually making a difference. And it's that little extra, that culture piece where you're drinking from the Kool-Aid a little bit, that'll help you kind of get more creative and more innovative.
Yeah, I think the word storytelling can be a little off-putting. I mean, I love it, but and scary for some people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a storyteller. I'm not telling stories, but we are all storytellers by nature. I mean, that's where people came from. That's what we did. We sat around the fire and we told stories, to fall asleep while we made sure that big scary
Yeah.
animals weren't going to eat us. So we're all storytellers, and I think it's not telling this grand story. It's just telling how you helped fix a problem for somebody.
Yep.
If people are authentic, people can be funny, people can be emotional, people can be sad. um and back to Amazon and these reviews, those reviews will sometimes get you to purchase from a company, even though the company isn't writing the story. It's the user generated content that's
Yep.
getting you to buy it.
Oh yeah,
um
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that is fascinating as well, these little tiny micro stories
Yeah.
within reviews. And sometimes people like to write them because they like to see themselves in print, and I say, or digital, and I say, go ahead, write those reviews,
Yep.
because they're just going to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it feels much more organic, right? It's not something coming from the company necessarily. It's coming from a person. And
That's
people
right.
tell honest stories. Companies can spin them, but people inherently trust people way more than they trust companies.
Yes, they do not buy from brands, they buy from people, and
Yep.
brands are the starting point of that bond.
I love it. I love it. Well, Trista, as shocking as it feels, we have come to the end of our episode. It goes by quick when
That's
you only have
amazing.
10 to 15-minute episodes.
Just telling stories.
So if someone has a story to tell and wants to connect with you, what's the best place to do that and to connect with you?
Yeah, the best place would be LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/Trista, Trista, Sobeck, Sobeck. And the company that I work for, we have a podcast that we started. You can find that as well. So if you are anybody who's in facility management or real estate or commercial cleaning, it's called The Clean Slate. So that's on openworks.com/The Clean Slate.
I love it. And we'll link to everything in the show notes as well. Trista, thank you
Awesome.
so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate you having on the show.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.